The second we launched this game, something felt wrong. Not the usual kind of wrong, not like buggy menus or bad sound design, no. This was heavier. The title screen was nothing but a wall of shifting fog. No music, no menu sounds. Just this low hum, like standing under buzzing power lines. The mist wasn't just background graphics. It moved, it shifted, it felt alive, and here's the worst part. This mist doesn't just hide things, it eats them. I laughed at first because that's what you do when a game tries too hard. You brush it off, but as soon as the game dropped me into the forest, my laughter stopped. It was silent, unnaturally silent. No crickets, no birds, not even the usual distant wind you'd expect in a game like this. Just fog, rolling, endless fog, curling around the trees like fingers. I thought it was just atmosphere until I noticed something. The mist wasn't just sitting there, it reacted when I moved, like it noticed me. When I stopped, it stilled. When I stepped forward, it drifted closer, and the sound changed. At first, it was subtle, like static in the background. But then it grew louder, a deep, ragged, wet breathing. That's when I froze, because it wasn't my character breathing. It wasn't me, it was coming from the fog. I sat there in my chair, not moving my mouse, staring into the screen. And I swear to you, the fog almost leaned forward, like it was waiting for me to break. Then, just as I started to wonder if I was imagining things, I heard it. A voice, faint, broken, but clear enough to send chills racing down my arms. It whispered one word. Stay, over and over again. Stay, stay, stay. Now, if I had any survival instinct, I would have slammed that game shut and deleted it right there. But of course I didn't. I chuckled nervously, leaned in and thought, okay, you want me to stay. That's the one thing I'm not doing. So I moved forward. The forest stretched endlessly in every direction. My flashlight barely cut through the fog, just enough to make me wish it didn't. The trees looked warped, almost bending toward me, their bark split and wet like they'd been crying sap. And no matter how far I walked, the mist clung to my ankles, sliding forward in bursts, then pulling back, like it was circling. Every few steps, I swore I heard something behind me, twigs snapping, footsteps too heavy to be mine. So I whipped around with the flashlight. Nothing, just fog. Always fog. That was the first time it really hit me. This wasn't like other horror games. Normally, you can tell where the map ends, or when the environment loops. But this forest didn't feel like code. It felt endless, alive. Then came the moment that nearly made me quit. The fog shifted again. This time it wasn't random, it pulled back. Like a curtain, and on the ground, half sunk in mud, were footprints. Human footprints, bare, leading straight into the mist. And they weren't mine. I froze in silence. My heart pounded so hard it felt like the fog could hear it through the screen. Every part of me screamed not to follow them, not to step 1 inch closer. But of course, that's exactly what I did. I pushed forward 1 step at a time into the trail. The prints looked smeared, dragged, like whoever left them hadn't gone willingly. The air grew thicker, heavier, until it felt like breathing through wet cloth, and then it happened. The screen flickered, just once, a flash of something pale moving between the trees. That's when it hit me. The mist wasn't hiding what was in the forest. It was hiding what it had already eaten. But what happened next? That's where everything started to go wrong. I followed those footprints, even though every bone in my body screamed to turn back. Each step felt heavier, like the ground itself didn't want me walking on it. My flashlight beam flickered, dimmer than it had any right to be, and every time it buzzed out, I swore I saw shapes moving just beyond the fog. The footprints ended at a clearing. At least I think it was a clearing. The trees bent away from the center, their twisted branches arching like ribs, and the mist pooled in the middle, thick, blacker than before. And then, for the first time, the game gave me sound other than breathing. A clock. Somewhere in the fog, a clock ticked. Not a nice little background sound either, no. This tick was loud, sharp. Each second echoing like it was inside my head. Tick, tick, tick. I turned the camera slowly, looking for the source. Nothing. Just mist. The footprint stopped dead, vanishing into the swirl. I stood there, frozen, whispering to myself, don't do it. Don't walk in. So what did I do? Yeah, I walked in. The moment I crossed the line, my screen glitched. Static shot across like an old VHS tape. And then came the worst sound so far, laughter. Low, broken, like someone choking on every chuckle. It wasn't coming from ahead of me, it was behind me. I spun the flashlight back toward the forest. Edge, nothing. Just trees, fog, the same endless gray sky. But the laughter didn't stop. It grew louder, circling me, bouncing in every direction. I couldn't move, not because of fear, but because the game wouldn't let me. My controls froze. My character just stood there, flashlight trembling in my hand, as if the game wanted me to listen. And then, just at the edge of the light, something moved. It wasn't a figure, not exactly. More like the mist itself thickened into a shape, tall, wrong, twitching as if it couldn't hold itself together. Its face, if you can call it that, stretched out pale and smooth like someone had erased it, and it leaned forward, the sound of that wet, ragged breathing shaking in my headphones. The laughter cut out, dead silence, and then the thing did something I'll never forget. It stepped backward into the fog and vanished, the control unlocked. I could move again, my chest unclenched. My character staggered forward, and that's when I noticed something new on the ground where the footprints had ended. A handprint, but not just pressed into the mud, it was reaching upward. Like something beneath the ground had pressed its palm against the surface, like something had been dragged under. I stared at it, trying to convince myself it was just part of the scenery, just texture work, nothing more. But then the ground shifted. I swear the dirt moved, like something underneath was crawling. And then, oh well, that's when the forest made its first move. I couldn't take my eyes off that handprint, the way it pressed upward, like someone underneath was begging to break free. The dirt around it bulged slightly, then sagged back down like a breath. I whispered out loud, nope, nope, absolutely not. But my character didn't care about my opinion because the ground pulsed again, this time stronger. The mist swirled tighter, curling in toward me. And suddenly I heard something that didn't sound like breathing or laughter or whispers. It sounded like chewing, wet, tearing, crunching. I froze. My heart was hammering in my chest because the sound wasn't muffled. It wasn't far away. It was underneath me. Before I could even think of backing away, the ground split. The mud buckled and cracked open, and a pale, skeletal arm shot out. Clawing at the air, the handprint hadn't been a texture, it had been a warning. I scrambled backward, slamming my controls, watching this figure drag itself halfway out of the ground. But here's the thing, it wasn't fully human. Its chest was caved in, skin stretched thin like wet paper, and its jaw unhinged far too wide. The mist poured from its mouth like smoke. I thought it was going to attack me, but instead it looked up, straight into the camera. Like it saw me, not just the character, and then it screamed. The screen shook so violently I thought my monitor would give out. My flashlight exploded into static, flickering on and off, and every time it came back the figure was closer, crawling, dragging itself with broken arms. I panicked. I spun around, sprinting into the forest, not even caring about where I was going. The sound of it crawling after me was unbearable. Bones snapping, wet dragging, claws tearing into the dirt. But then, just as suddenly as it started, the sound stopped, dead quiet. I slowed down, my flashlight steadied. The mist settled again, curling peacefully through the trees. No sign of the thing that had crawled out of the ground. No trail. No hole where it had burst through. Just calm. I stood there, trying to catch my breath, when I noticed something new on the HUD. A bar. It hadn't been there before. Faint red, sitting at the corner of the screen, and slowly, very slowly, it ticked down. At first, I thought it was health, but then a message flashed across the screen in jagged white text. The mist is feeding. I froze, staring at the words, my skin crawling. Feeding on what on me? I tried to move to shake it off, but the text faded and the bar kept draining. And the worst part, every time it ticked lower, I felt it, not in the game, in my body. A heavy weight in my chest, like something was pressing down on my lungs, my real lungs, and then the whispering came back. This time, clearer than before, it said, "Don't run, but if I didn't run, what would happen?" I stood frozen, staring at that red bar draining in the corner of the screen. The text was gone, but the meaning stuck. The mist is feeding. I told myself it was just some kind of stamina system, or a countdown to keep me moving. But then the whisper came back, clearer now, "Don't run." I laughed nervously, because what kind of horror game tells you not to run? Running is the only survival tactic, but fine. I stopped moving, my character stood still, and instantly the bar stopped draining. I blinked, my heart dropped. Oh no, that meant the whisper wasn't lying. If I ran, I fed it. So I stood there in silence, clutching my mouse, too scared to even move an inch. The forest around me was quiet, too quiet. That's when the game decided to mess with me. Somewhere in the fog, a branch snapped. Loud, heavy, like something stepped on it. Then another snap, and another. The sound circled me, closing in, but the red bar held steady. I whispered under my breath, "Don't run, don't run, don't run." And then, right behind me, I heard it. That wet, ragged breathing, close enough that I swear I felt it on the back of my neck. I snapped the flashlight around and of course, nothing was there. But the whispering voice came back, harsher this time, "Don't look." My throat went dry, "Don't look." What do you mean, don't look? That's literally all I can do. So I did the one thing you're not supposed to do in horror games. I disobeyed. I aimed my flashlight deeper into the fog, and that's when I saw them, figures, dozens of them. Barely visible, standing shoulder to shoulder in the mist, completely still, their pale faces smooth, featureless like masks carved out of wax. I froze. My heart was a jackhammer. They didn't move. They just watched. Or at least, I think they were watching. Then the red bar dropped again, one chunk, two chunks, faster now. I panicked, took a step backward, and the figures all tilted their heads in unison. That's when I realized the rules weren't simple. Running fed the mist. Looking at what hid inside it fed the mist. And if I kept breaking its rules, it wasn't just going to drain that bar on my screen. It was going to drain me. The whisper came one last time, not faint, not distant. This time it was right in my headphones. "Obey," and then the bar dropped to 0. The second that red bar hit 0, the whole game collapsed. The HUD shattered like glass, vanishing from the screen, and the flashlight cut out. I was left in total darkness. Not in-game darkness either, no shadows, no faint outlines, just black. And then my speakers erupted. It wasn't one sound, it was hundreds, screams, whispers, cries, the sound of teeth grinding on bone, layered on top of each other until it felt like the noise was inside my skull. I ripped one ear cup off, thinking maybe my headset was glitching, but the sound didn't stop. It was in both ears, balanced perfectly, surrounding me, and then I realized the game wasn't paused. My character was still breathing on screen. Slow, shaky breaths, like my panic had transferred into the game. Out of instinct, I tried hitting escape, Alt F4, anything. Nothing worked. The screen pulsed once, and then new text appeared. "You broke the rules." I swallowed hard. "Okay, fine, scare tactic. Cool, but then the words shifted. "We warned you." My chest tightened, because for a split second I felt it. A pressure against my ribs, heavy, crushing, and then the game did something impossible. It turned my webcam on. I didn't click it. I didn't give it permission, but suddenly my face appeared in the corner of the screen. Pale Y, died, caught in the glow of my monitor. The mist swirled around it, pixelated fog wrapping closer and closer to my image, like it was seeping through the camera feed. I slapped a hand over the lens, whispering, "Nope, nope, nope." But even then, the mist didn't stop. It filled the corner box until my face disappeared completely, smothered by gray. And that's when I realized the rules weren't just for the game. They were for me. Don't run, don't look, obey. I felt the weight in my chest crush harder. The whispering was deafening now, crawling into my ears. We see you. I yanked the headset off, sat back. Heart hammering so hard I thought it would break my ribs. But here's the thing, the whisper didn't stop. It was no longer coming from the game. The whisper didn't stop. Even without the headset on, I could still hear it. Faint at first, but unmistakable. My room was silent, but the words clung to the air like smoke. We see you. I stared at my monitor, my reflection ghosting in the black screen, and then the game flickered back on. I didn't touch a thing, no keys, no mouse. It just forced itself awake. The forest was gone. My character wasn't in the woods anymore. He was standing in a small, dimly lit room, 4 walls, 1 door, no windows, and in the corner of the room there was a shape. A figure, crouched low, face buried in its hands, the mist coiled around it like a leash. I leaned in, whispering without realizing, "Don't look, don't look." But of course, my character turned its head anyway. The figure raised its face, and my blood ran cold. It was me, not my character, not some random NPC. It was me, my own face, pale and twisted, staring back with eyes full of fog. It opened its mouth wider and wider until the screen was swallowed in darkness. For a split second, I swear I felt the air get colder. My chest tightened again, like that red bar had dropped to nothing, like the mist was pressing on my lungs. I wanted to slam the PC shut, rip the plug out of the wall, anything to make it stop, and then silence. The game closed itself. No crash report, no desktop, just black. I sat there, shaking, staring at my reflection on the dead monitor. The hum of the mist was gone, but the weight in my chest wasn't. I laughed nervously, trying to play it off, telling myself, "Okay, creepy game devs, good job. You got me." But deep down, I knew it didn't feel like just a game anymore, because when I finally stood up and turned away from the screen, the faintest trail of mist curled by my bedroom door. And let's just say we're never opening that game at night again.